What's going on, guys? My name is Renegade. It's time for class comparisons once again. We're now up to episode 10, and I'm going to be taking a look at Paladin class versus Paladin High Lord for farming. Before I start the comparison, I actually have a Discord server that you guys are all welcome to join. It's free, and it's pretty easy to set up. Just follow the link in the description, create an account, and that's it. You don't have to download anything, you don't have to verify your email, just follow the link, create your account by typing your email, typing your username, typing in your password, and that's it. We currently have over 100 people in there, but it's always good to get more. While you're down there in the description, it'd be great if you guys could leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you leave any suggestions for future episodes of class comparisons down in the comment section. Just leave the classes you want to see compared and the category as well. So that could be farming, soloing, support, whatever. There's one more thing I'd like to go over, and that's what makes a class good at farming, just to help you guys understand my reasoning behind the points that I'll make in the video. In my opinion, a good farming class is a class that's efficient. This means that it'll be able to take down a large number of monsters, in a short space of time without delays like resting or dying. Abilities that usually help this are abilities that are AoE, deal high damage, and have low cooldowns. Obviously, a heal is kind of important, as that'll sort of prevent any delays, and mana management is the same deal, prevent any other delays like resting and such. Other than that, we'll get straight into the comparison. First up, I'll go over Paladin class. Paladin class is a class that will deal more damage to undead monsters, which I'll talk about later in the video, but for now we'll discuss it without the bonus added because I feel like undead monsters are fairly uncommon in most farming situations, so it's more fair to compare Paladin without the extra undead damage. In terms of how good Paladin is though in farming situations, it's decent. It has three main abilities excluding its auto attack, three main damage abilities that is, Abolish, Exercise, and Blinding Light. Abolish is a simple one-target attack that deals about 300 damage non-crit and about 1.5k crit. It crits fairly often, so you can get a decent amount of damage out of this ability. It has a 3-second cooldown and it consumes about 10 mana. Abolish also reduces damage taken by 7% for 10 stacks, which is good for long battles, but not so good for farming, as it has generally got shorter battles, as you guys probably know with farming. Either way, it's a decent attack. Exercise is where a pretty large portion of the damage comes from, as it hits around 900 non-crit and about 2.8k crit against 3 targets. It has a 6-second cooldown and costs 15 mana. Blinding Light, which is the third main attacking ability excluding the auto attack, also attacks 3 targets but deals smaller damage at around 2.2k damage, 2.2k crit and 650 damage non-crit. It has a 15-second cooldown and consumes 30 mana. Blinding Light also applies Blinded, reducing enemy haste by 50% for 16 seconds. The class has a heal ability too, called Healing Word. It consumes 25 mana and has a 6-second cooldown, and this heals around 1k non-crit normally, and the crit is obviously just around about 2.5k, as I've noticed usually, which is generally enough. These sort of heals generally crit enough to heal you to full health, so it doesn't really matter the number anyway. The class is generally pretty efficient, with Exercise carrying out most of the damage dealt, and with the other abilities, especially Blinding Light, picking up the rest of the health of most monsters. The class has a sufficient heal, especially with the damage reducing abilities and the haste reduction. That really does help the survivability, but I find that if I spam the abilities as much as I like for my typical farming, I run out of mana pretty quickly. I usually have to slow down a bit, which hurts my efficiency by a fair margin, but that's not usually too much of an issue. I usually find Paladin to be quite a good farming class, but again, having to slow down, it does affect the efficiency a fair amount, as you kind of want to use the abilities a lot, but it's like, if I use them a lot, I'm going to use all my mana, so it's kind of a toss-up, but generally it's a good class. Paladin High Lord also has a bonus similar to Paladin's. Paladin High Lord's bonus is most of its abilities are buffed significantly depending on the amount of people you're in a party with. This is a bonus I'm actually going to count, as most people that use this class will generally get random people in their party, or they'll have 4 other accounts logged in to increase this class's effectiveness. It's pretty much free power, like you're getting free power for just having more accounts logged in or having a full party, so I'm going to count it. I'll still mention at the end of this video, or the end if the result would have changed based on the buff, so I'll say like if this class is better or worse regardless or whatever, without the buff being counted, but for now I'm including the buff. Paladin High Lord has 3 main attacking abilities and a heal, similarly to Paladin. The attacking abilities are called Purifying Flame, Undermine, and Light Wave. Purifying, I don't even know how the fuck to pronounce it, to be honest, is a single target attack dealing 1.2k damage non-crit and about 4k crit. It has a 6-second cooldown and consumes 20 mana. Purifying Flame also has a small DOT of around 150 for about 5 ticks. While 6-second cooldown sounds short on paper, it actually is fairly lengthy in terms of like comparison to other classes and such, and so the damage it does is kind of making up for it, but again, it's like single target, so you're not really getting much farming benefit out of this ability other than just finish off a single target or whatever. Undermine is a low damage ability. It hits around 250 non-crit, about 750 non-crit. It has a 5-second cooldown, it consumes 10 mana. Each time Undermine is used, it lowers the enemy's haste by a little amount, I guess. I don't know, there's no percentage there, but it's a small amount, I guess, and I think it stacks. Well, yeah, that makes sense, because it, you know, stacks, whatever, each time it's used. Light Wave is a very large damage nuke ability. It deals around 1.8k non-crit and about 5.8k damage crit to all enemies in range. This is a technically unlimited amount of enemies. The heal ability for Light Wave also reduces the enemy's damage for a short amount of time, so it's a kind of little extra bonus there as well. Again, it doesn't have any number on the amount of time. The heal ability for Paladin Highlord is called Word of Light, and heals a similar amount to Paladin, 1k non-crit and 3k crit. It has a 10-second cooldown and consumes 30 mana. While on paper Paladin Highlord sounds pretty great, its 10-second cooldown on Light Wave really holds it back for farming. In farming, you generally want to do as much AoE damage as possible, and Light Wave is the only AoE ability in this class, and it has a fairly lengthy cooldown. And as a result, you end up consuming all your mana trying to kill other enemies with the other abilities in the class while waiting for Light Wave to finish its lengthy cooldown. And if you're not spamming your abilities while you're waiting for the cooldown to finish, then you're pretty much sitting there, you're a sitting duck, just healing yourself, waiting for that ability to come back. So its mana management isn't too great, and its damage output as a whole is not too great. It has some pretty decent damage on paper with its single abilities, but again, overall damage output isn't too great to all the enemies that are within range and all the ones you're attacking at the current time of when you're farming. So yeah, we'll now go on to the final comparison and conclusion. Okay, so I was following a script for the previous parts of the video, but I'm going to do sort of off the top of my head for this one. So for the conclusion, I'm going to give the winner here to Paladin, and that's without the Undead bonus. Then with the Undead bonus, Paladin cleans up. The reason for this is Paladin has multiple AoE abilities, whereas Paladin Highlord doesn't. It's got a single AoE ability. Now, Paladin class as a whole is got a pretty high damage output even without attacking undead monsters. It has, as again, like I said, several AoE abilities, so it's attacking like for more damage overall as well. And you're sort of eating away at the enemies constantly, whereas with Paladin Highlord, you've got that Light Wave ability that is really the only way to do AoE damage, and so as a result, you're sort of killing off enemies at a slower rate. Especially with high health enemies, you're really struggling with Paladin Highlord, whereas with Paladin, it has 6-second cooldown on its main AoE ability, and its other abilities have very short cooldowns and don't consume much mana. You know what I mean? So like you can spam your other abilities while waiting, and you don't tend to consume as much mana as you would with Paladin Highlord. They're both not amazing for farming. They both do have issues, mana issues, in terms of like not being able to spam abilities, or if you, again, like I mentioned before, if you don't spam abilities, you're sort of sacrificing damage, and so either way, it's a negative thing. You know, people are telling me in the comments like, well then just don't spam the abilities and you're fine. But no, you're not fine because you're dealing less damage. And so I'd like to deal more damage, but the class doesn't let me because I run out of mana, you know what I mean? So yeah, both of them have no complaints with the heals though. Their heals are pretty much identical. I believe one of them like heals more health to like other people, but that's really not an issue with farming. You know, I don't tend to count farming as a like multi-person thing. A lot of people do it by themselves, or they just don't really care about the people around them, to be honest. It's like I don't really give extra points, and either way the heals are pretty much identical, so there's nothing really to talk about there. I don't know, I think Paladin really has the edge in terms of farming. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. It's not by a huge margin, by the way, guys. I just thought it's a pretty clear winner to me, but it's not a huge margin. Again, like, Paladin Highlord and Paladin are both pretty decent, but if you don't talk about the... if you're not talking in terms of the party bonus with Paladin Highlord, then you really have a superior class in terms of Paladin. Paladin Highlord's party bonus is pretty much essential for this class to be even viable at all. You know, like its heal is less strong, its damage is lesser on a few of the abilities on actually it's both of its main attacking abilities. Undermine isn't really viable at all for in terms of damage output, so you just sort of use the other abilities, and that's where you get your damage from. And both of them are affected by party size, and so yeah, you really are depending on that party bonus. And so as a result, I'm definitely crowning Paladin as the winner in this situation. Again, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you have any other things to mention about the video or about future suggestions or anything, leave those in the comment section down below as well. And yeah, other than that, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.